Hi there, and welcome to the Paula Fiscal Show. My show airs on Sundays at 3 o'clock p.m. on Channel 29. I also upload all the shows to YouTube at the Paula Fiscal channel. So remember to subscribe and you'll get noticed of all the new shows. Today we have a very popular guest by the name of Carol Ruth Silver. Some of you have known her as being a member of the Board of Supervisors. Others of you may recall just recently she had a wonderful 80th birthday party at the Chinese American International School. And she is here with us today to discuss one of her new programs. I also have here with me a newspaper which she put out on the 30th, on her birthday, on the 30th of September. And the picture on here is of her in Parchment Prison because she is and was a freedom rider, along with a picture of her book, Freedom Rider. Welcome very much today, Carol Ruth. You are one of our favorite guests, so I want you to go ahead and tell us about your latest initiative, WAVE.
Thank you, Paula. It's really a pleasure, as always, to have an opportunity to talk with you and with your absolutely marvelous audience of people who follow you on television and on YouTube. Yes, I had a birthday party, an 80th birthday party. 80th birthdays are really something, you know. You look forward to them for 80 years, and then after they come and go, you think, gee, am I really that old? But I am that old, and I have had a marvelously interesting life, and it keeps on chugging. And so that a part of that is why I have announced a new initiative called WorldAsVillage. And I'm sure everybody remembers the thing that says, the meme, I guess that you would call it, that says, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to live in harmony with other people who are not members of your family, your tribe, not the kind of nationalism that is being promoted today as a way of living in the world, but rather the notion that we can all get along with each other, we can help each other, we can be there for one another. So WorldAsVillage, W-A-V, was the name that we chose for this new initiative.
And let's talk about some interesting goals and mission statements that you may have, and it has everything to do with education and preschool children. Now, I also know that you have a Montessori-like school in Kabul, Afghanistan. So can you tell us more about the new initiative, WAVE?
Well, you're right that education is the thing that ties together all of the projects that I have been involved in for many decades. The most recent is something called Wind of Hope, which is a small Montessori-inspired preschool in Ghazni, Afghanistan. Not in Kabul, but in Ghazni, which is a secondary city. It's when I was there, people in Ghazni always said, don't do something in Kabul. Everybody goes to Kabul. Everybody contributes. Everybody does projects there. Do something in Ghazni. So we did. And our little school in Ghazni for preschoolers, for kids who are 3 to 6 or 7 years old, was running quite nicely along until about 3 months ago when the Taliban targeted Ghazni, and at this moment in time the school is in suspension. It's also going into the winter when we would have suspended the school anyway. Their school holidays are their school holidays are always in the winter because they are too poor to afford to buy wood to keep the school heated. So Yeah, so that's why schools in Afghanistan don't run in the wintertime.
But let's talk about the goal of raising funds for the WAVE initiative.
So the WAVE initiative will continue the support of Wind of Hope in Ghazni, the little preschool, Montessori-inspired preschool. It will also, and importantly, try to mold a curriculum to teach teachers in Afghanistan who are willing to or want to create a preschool program. Now, in Afghanistan, there is no such thing as preschool in the Ministry of Education schools. They don't have preschool because, and the Ministry of Education is very blunt about this, they don't have the money to support even the schools that they have, so that most children in Afghanistan go to school half a day. So they get half the curriculum and then they go away, and another group of students comes in and gets the same half, but never a full day of schooling, which is very sad. So one way of kickstarting the education of kids is to give them a preschool training where they can learn to read, learn to manipulate mathematical blocks and other materials that have been created in the Montessori mode.
And do the parents come in and help, or is it done by a volunteer system, or are there actual teachers that are hired to do this?
There are actual teachers. The parents are mostly illiterate. So the mother who brings her 2, 3, or 4 children to the preschool class then either sits and knits or does something that she can do. We had wanted to try to have a literacy class for parents, but we were not able to get that done. But the Montessori method of teaching is a very important part of what we're trying to do. What we want to do, among other things on our do list, is to create a curriculum to inspire preschool teaching in the Montessori mode. That means instead of when you take a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old and you say, okay, now you're going to go to this Montessori-inspired preschool, instead of trying to get the child to sit still while a teacher stands in front at the blackboard and says, okay, now learn this. Now learn this letter, now learn that letter. This is a giraffe, this is a whatever. Instead of that, the Montessori method says, let the child select from various materials that have been developed to intrigue the child with mathematical concepts, with animals, the names of animals, the ability to let the children learn themselves rather than be taught. So most American schools, most American and most European preschools today are taught in that mode.
So it's a self-directed opportunity for the young person to come in and actually pick science or actually pick another project other than, say, learning how to put in blocks into a square or rounds into a round. So everything is not dictated so much by the teacher, but it's allowing the student and the young person at preschool, it's 3 or 4 years old, right, to pick what they like best. Now, it might be it's going to be a candy bar at the end of the desk, right?
Yes, it might be a candy bar, but the role of the teacher is to make sure that the snacks that are put out are healthy snacks, so that the child's opportunity to choose something that is not good for them doesn't exist. They simply don't have candy bars or whatever. Not that they would have, that being a big luxury in Afghanistan. But the program in Afghanistan is much more than one little preschool. The teaching of the training that we are hoping to do, in fact, as early as a couple of months from now, but the training that we're hoping to do will teach teachers how to recognize that children can learn from what the children want to select as their materials. So what you do is what the Montessori Method is it prepares certain kinds of materials, and then it gives the child, any child in the group, the opportunity to go to that set of blocks or that set of cards and select one of them. If they select the blocks that make something called the pink tower, then the teacher's role is to say, isn't that interesting? Look, this block is smaller than that block. Can you put all the blocks one after the other so the biggest one is on the bottom? Now the child is learning the shapes, learning the relationship between different shapes, and proceeding from there to be able to apply that learning to numbers and to other things.
And the Parsa, can you tell us about that particular program? You talked about it in the briefing.
Yes. We recently I became aware that Parsa, which is a long-standing Afghan community-based organization, has had a group of Girl Scouts who decided as their Girl Scout badge project to create a preschool in a very, very, very poor area of Bamyan, where the people are so poor that they don't even have houses. They live in caves in the mountains. And those kids are now going to a little preschool, and one of the most important things we're doing is to try to do a training, a Montessori inspirational training for the Girl Scouts who are taking the leadership role in creating a preschool. And in order to do that, we are trying to we're looking for Montessori teachers, for people who are trained in the Montessori method, to help in developing in writing down a curriculum that would be good for this training project. So if any of you out there are Montessori trained or Montessori inspired, please give me a call and let's see if we can do this together. That's one of the main things that our group is looking to try to get done in the next couple of months, and then to take that curriculum to Afghanistan and do that.
So my next question then is, when you're raising funds for a cause such as this, is there, like we have here, a school board or a Friends of the School Board? Is there a governmental entity that assists in this type of endeavor?
No. There is no government funding, there is no government enthusiasm, there's no government participation. It's all about you. You know the old poster, we want you, or Uncle Sam wants you to come forth and help us on this. And you know, I don't want to focus 100% on Afghanistan. Education in Afghanistan is so far below what is needed, and so far below the standards of Europe and America. But there are other places where we're going to be working, where I have been working, particularly Mississippi. Now Mississippi is, to me, not quite old home week, but more than 50 years ago, I was in jail in Mississippi as a freedom rider. And as a freedom rider, I was incarcerated in a number of different jails in Jackson, Mississippi, and also in Parchman Prison, which is the major felony institution in the prison system in Mississippi. And when I got out of jail, as a Freedom Rider, I was able to bring with me a handful of little notes, which I then wrote up into a manuscript called Diary of a Freedom Rider, or Freedom Rider Diary. And Paula is saying to me that
here it is.
There's the
and here's the book right over
here's the book
here.
over there. Yes, so Freedom Rider Diary was published 55 years after the events happened, but it was a thrill, a real thrill to me, to have my experiences as a Freedom Rider turned into a book. So after the book was published, it sold out, and then they did the paperback version, and that's now available. Amazon, Books and Borders, any of the bookstores can get it for you. Sorry for the little plug, but that book inspired me to say that we should check in the libraries of the high schools and the middle schools in Mississippi. Do they have books about the civil rights movement? Most of the kids, more than 50% of the population of Mississippi is African American still. And most of the kids who are in the public schools are African Americans. Do they have books in their library which tell them about the civil rights movement, about the opportunities that they have today, instead of being in a segregated school, to go to a regular school and to become educated? Do they remember? Do they know? Are they being taught about that? Well, as much as I would like to say, oh yes, everything was wonderful, we found that many of the schools that were in Mississippi did not have in their libraries books like my book, Diary of a Freedom Rider. They did not have those kind of books. They didn't have Congressman John Lewis's book called March, which is a manga or comic book or a grown-up comic book type book about the freedom movement that got these kids the rights that they have today. So, putting that together, we put together a bunch of books, and we went on a trip across Mississippi and stopped at Neshoba County, which is where the 3 civil rights workers were murdered so awfully in 1964. And we went to a variety of places. And in each place, we donated a copy of my book, a copy of some other books, and I'd like to, and that was very successful. When we talked to students, they were very, very receptive. I'd like to put that on make that a yearly travel through the south of particularly Mississippi, because that's where my experience has been, but to travel through the South and to encourage the recollection of the civil rights movement of 50 years ago.
And in hearing your background, you've always been one to assist in the education, and particularly of girls. So when you're talking about your new initiative, WAVE, you have particular goals in mind, like when will the program actually start, when does your fiscal year start, and how soon do you anticipate your program to be functioning?
Well, we are functioning now on a number of those efforts, and we are open to having additional activities as we are able to raise funds. You know, raising money is very difficult, but I do believe that the projects that I have started, that we have started, are very, very worthwhile, and nobody else is doing them. Nobody else. There are no preschools in Afghanistan except for the one that I started, co-founded with another person who is an Afghan. There are no preschools except the ones that Parsa is doing in their part. So there are many parts of the world where there are great needs, and we cannot do everything. We can't solve all the world's problems, but the education of young people, the education particularly of young girls, I think is one of the most important things to make the world a better place, to make it a better place for me and you and your children and my grandchildren. That's what I think is important. So, and then there are a number of other initiatives that I am considering, and I'm hoping that in addition to money, we will have volunteers and interns. I had a wonderful intern last summer from Spain who was going to Soka University in Southern California, and she came as an intern, and she did a fabulous job of putting together our website, and now we need a new webmaster. We need lots and lots of volunteer help to do all kinds of things, and it's very interesting to do that. My intern, whose name was Anna, said she would give us a great reference as a boss, because I was giving her references so she could get into graduate school. She said, and I'll give you a great reference as a boss. So
that's good. That's
yeah,
good.
Really
good. I can vouch for your reference as a boss myself, having worked with you for many, many years on a variety of projects. And yes, in the interest of disclosure, I am on your board. I am on your executive board for the WAVE initiative. And for those of you that would like to participate and want to know more about it, there is a website, and there is also a link that will be put on the end of this show, and I'll also add it to the YouTube initiative, or the YouTube show. So then at this point, I'm going to ask Carol Ruth to go ahead and give us her 25-second pitch.
Please, if you have an extra nickel, an extra dollar, or an extra $100 or $1,000, please consider donating to WAVE. WorldAsVillage is an initiative to create Montessori-inspired preschools in Afghanistan and elsewhere, to bring the history of the civil rights movement to children who are in the in school in Mississippi right now, and other similar projects. We also are considering a project that includes solar panels and a small laptop computer, a la one laptop per child, which is another organization I've been active in for many, many years, and a whole set of programs. But every program has to be started with a co-founder, a conspirator, as you will, somebody who wants to do something, who has a passion for it. I have that passion for lots of projects, and I'm looking for other people that have a passion for doing good, for being incorporated into WorldAsVillage, for seeing the world as a village in which other people are their friends, their compatriots, their other people who are in need are going to be helped.
So there you have it. If you have some extra time that you'd like to volunteer with the new WAVE initiative, you can reach Carol Ruth Silver at her email, which is
Carol at CAROL at silverlaw SILVERLAW.biz, BIZ. Check out the link that Paula is going to put up in a little while. You will find that it's very nice, but it's very thin. It's just one picture and one explanation. We need to have more pictures. We need people. As I said, we're looking for somebody or somebodies who are Montessori trained, who can help on creating this curriculum. We need people who can do a website. We need people who are on social media and like to be on social media all the time, or at least a little bit of time. We need to have money to including money to take our Montessori people out to Kabul, Afghanistan, and do this training. We need money to go to Mississippi to train to educate young people about the civil rights movement, about the history of African Americans in the South, which is not being taught in most of the schools.
And we have also a Freedom Rider Diary Facebook page where you can log on and take a look at some of the people that have been involved, particularly with the 50th anniversary that was put together with the help of David Lisker, who's one of your professors at the Community College Board. And there are many other areas where you can donate your time and or resources. So we want to thank you very much for joining the Paula Fiscal Show. And if you have a cause that you would like us to discuss, you can reach me at the paulafiscalshow@gmail.com and look for me on YouTube and on channel 29 and rerun on channel 76. Thank you so much for joining the Paula Fiscal Show. We want to thank our sponsors, SFID General Contracting, who does the editing, Rosalie Jacques at Gypsy Rosalie's in North Beach. We also have Lisa, who has 3 boutiques, one on Hayes, one in the Chestnut District, and one in West Portal. And the Curtin Pacific Institute for Criminal Justice, who sponsors the Paula Fiscal Show. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay informed.